Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar titled Orientation to the Advanced Technological Education, as you know, that's ATE, Conference for New Attendees that's happening next month in Washington, D.C. Just a few announcements as we begin our webinar today. I'm your host, Mike Lasecki. The webinar will be recorded. In fact, I've just clicked on the recording button, and you'll automatically get a link to the recording. Typically, we'll get that out to you by Monday or Tuesday. You'll get a link to the slides as well, so you can share those or review those. Today, there'll be plenty of opportunities to ask questions of our expert presenters using the chat window. Please don't hesitate to do that. We'll have a variety of question breaks, and there'll be a break at the end for questions. We will ask you to participate in a very brief survey at the end to help us improve our webinar offerings. And finally, anytime during the webinar, you can access two PDF resource documents, one titled Resources, the other Showcase Guide for small grants new to AT to help them organize their showcase presentations. You'll hear more about the showcases today. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and acknowledge our host for today, which is ATE Central. ATE Central is the information hub for the ATE program. You might not have had a chance yet to access that website. It's everything ATE, tons of resources, upcoming events. Go ahead and take a look at them on atecentral.net. It's my pleasure now to bring forward our presenters. Let me start by introducing Elaine Hause. Elaine is the Director, Academic and Student Affairs, and she's the Principal Investigator of the grant that's bringing the Principal Investigators Conference to you. She works at the American Association of Community Colleges. Elaine, thank you for joining today. Please come on, say hello, and then introduce your colleague, Elaine Craft.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, which serves as an orientation to the ATE Conference for New Attendees. It's my pleasure to host this workshop or this webinar with my partner, Elaine Craft, who's the Principal Investigator for the Mentor Connect project and the HSI ATE Hub project at Florence Darlington Technical College. And on behalf of AACC, the Mentor Connect project, and ATE Central, we welcome you. It's our hope that this webinar will help orient you to the conference, help you maximize your time at the meeting, and give you an opportunity to ask any questions you may have prior to the event. And as Mike indicated, if you have questions at any time, please enter them into the chat box. We'll be monitoring that, and we'll also have designated breaks to address questions. So I'd like to move us forward and go over what we're going to talk about today. So we'll give you a conference overview. We'll cover registration, hotel, and travel. Navigating the conference, we'll go over the conference content, types of sessions offered, and the general flow. We'll talk about ways you can maximize your engagement in the event with a lot of information on the showcase sessions. We'll talk about identifying and connecting with your program officer, your NSF program officer at the event, student participation, and other commonly asked questions. So let's start with the who, the what, the where, and the why. Before we go, I'd like to get an idea of who is in attendance on the webinar. So if we could launch a poll, we'd like to know how many of you have previously attended an ATE-PI conference, or if this is, in fact, your first time attending. I see folks are answering now. All right, so it does look like the majority of our attendees are first time coming to the conference, so we welcome you. And I do see we have a couple of veteran attendees in the group. So if we move through the webinar, if any of the AT conference past participants have comments or insights that you'd like to share about the conference or your experience, we encourage you to contribute them to the chat box as well. So thank you. We can close the poll. All right, the what is, as Mike indicated, this is the Advanced Technological Education Principal Investigators Conference. It's quite a mouthful, which is why we refer to it as the ATE Conference for short. It's a national professional development and networking event for ATE grantees and their project partners. And it's co-sponsored by the National Science Foundation and the American Association of Community Colleges. And it's primarily funded through a grant to AACC. If you're not familiar with AACC, we're the primary advocacy organization for the nation's community colleges, representing nearly 1,200 two-year associate degree granting institutions and more than 12 million students. And we've been working with NSF to host the annual ATE conference for the past 25 years. So this year marks the 26th ATE conference. So the where and the when, hopefully you're aware of our dates, October 23rd through 25, and it's hosted at the Omni Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C. This is an actual picture of the hotel on the screen. It's actually a really beautiful historic property near downtown D.C. And very conveniently located to a metro line. We'll talk a little bit about some of that toward the end of the webinar as well. This is the cover of our registration brochure, which hopefully you are familiar with. I just wanted to note our theme for this year is Innovation and Impact, ATE for the Future, and also point out the conference URL. We'll be updating and posting all the agenda information in the next 2 weeks, and we'll also send out notification when that is all up and posted. But that is where all the latest and greatest information about the conference will be made available to you. So who attends the event? Approximately 800 to 850 people attend the conference each year. Participants include ATE project and center PIs, their co-PIs, and their grant partners from business and industry, K-12, and four-year institutions. A host of NSF program officers attend, AACC staff attend, and well as selected guests representing the federal government and STEM-related nonprofits and associations. The conference also includes opportunities for 60 students to attend, and we'll go over that a little later in the webinar as well. And now I'd like to turn that over to Elaine to talk to you about why you should attend.
Thanks, Ellen. Perhaps the most compelling reason to attend the ATE-PI conference is that NSF requires you to be there. Even so, it is one of the nicest perks that comes with being an ATE grantee. The conference helps you develop professionally and connect with other ATE grantees. Participation in this conference enables you to understand the national impact ATE has on technician education and the part your project plays in this work. The ATE-PI conference provides a unique type of professional development not likely to be found elsewhere, especially the learning that results from peer sharing in the context of being an ATE grantee and technician educator. You will learn things at the conference that will help you in your work today and in the future. You will be surrounded by people who are extremely interested in your work, including NSF program officers and fellow ATE grantees who understand both the joys and the challenges of being an innovator in technician education. Now, Ellen, we'll cover some of the conference logistics with you.
Thanks, Elaine. So in this section, we'll go over registration, hotel, and travel arrangements. Hopefully you're all squared away, but just in case you need some clarification on this or some assistance, we'll cover this. So AACC receives a list of ATE grant awards from the National Science Foundation. When we receive this list is when we send out an email as well as printed materials to the project and center PIs. Please note that communication regarding the conference initially only goes to the PI, as that's the information that we receive from NSF, and then it's important that the PI shares this information with their team members who are planning to attend. So to register for the event, you do that online through our website, and you will need your grant number to register, as your grant number serves as your registration code. And the number of attendees a project or center can bring to the conference is designated by NSF and AACC. So a certain number of slots are allocated for each project and or center, and the goal is keeping attendance at a manageable size to promote networking and information sharing among the ATE community. So the chart on the screen breaks down what registration costs are covered by AACC and what should be covered by your grant. And each project will receive 2 complimentary registrations along with lodging for 2 nights for 2 people. And projects can also bring up to 3 additional people and cover their lodging and registration fees. And centers also receive 2 comp registrations along with lodging for 2 nights for 2 people, and they can bring an additional 5 people and cover their lodging and registration fees. So the project and center teams are responsible for assigning who on their teams will receive the complimentary registrations. And so for those on your team that are coming that are not receiving a complimentary registration, there is a registration fee of $350 per person. And as part of the conference, we also offer pre-conference workshops, and we'll talk about those momentarily. They're an additional $50 per person per workshop. And everyone attending a workshop is required to pay the $50 fee, including those receiving the comp registration. So please note that you can use your AT grant funds to pay registration and pre-conference workshop fees. And obviously our registration deadline is on the slide of September 26th. In terms of hotel reservations, all individuals are responsible for making their own hotel reservations, including those that are receiving comp registration and lodging. And to do so, you would access the link provided in your conference registration confirmation email. If you registered online and you didn't see or locate a confirmation email, we are having some challenges. They seem to be going into spam folders. Do email ate@aacc.nche.edu or email me, and we'll ask our registration team to resend your confirmation so you can access that link. Our hotel room block is limited to registered ATE conference participants. We have one large room block at the Omni Shoreham Hotel, which is the host conference site, and then a small overflow block at the Marriott Wardman Park, which is across the street. And you'll receive a hyperlink to make reservations at both. We encourage you to stay at the Omni, though some people do prefer Marriott's, but you'll get that information once your registration is complete. Note that you will need to provide a credit card to guarantee your room and to cover any incidental fees accrued during your stay. So you'll want to make your reservations by September 26th. If you don't make them by the 26th, you're going to be responsible for any difference in room rate from the group rate, which is $263 per night. Now, AACC does cover room and tax for 2 nights for those individuals who receive complimentary registrations. And the way that is done is after the hotel, after the reservation deadline passes on September 26th, we take the hotel list, we compare it to our registration list, and at that time we assign those to have covered rooms, we assign those rooms to the master account. So when you check into the hotel, we ask you to please verify if you are one of the ones that is receiving 2 nights complimentary, verify that your billing has been routed to the AACC master account. If it hasn't, please report that to the conference registration desk when you check in to receive your conference materials, and we have a little form and we correct that right on site. But a lot of people are getting a little confused. They're being asked to provide a credit card when we say we're covering 2 nights. That is the process. You're guaranteeing your room. If you need to cancel your room or change your reservation, you need to contact the hotel directly to do that. AACC just assigns your 2 nights billing to the master account following that September 26th cutoff date. For those that would like to stay longer than 2 nights, the room night is the same. You would just be responsible for covering any additional nights, and the Omni extends the group rate based on availability up to 3 days before and 3 days after the conference. Okay, we will move forward to travel arrangements. All attendees are responsible for arranging and paying for their own travel arrangements. And AACC provides airport and ground transportation information on our conference website, and that can be found on the hotel and travel page. And when arranging for travel, don't forget to factor in travel expenses such as parking or airport transfers and meals not offered by the conference. For your reference, the conference does provide the following meals. We do a pretty heavy evening reception on Wednesday around our opening showcase session. We do a full breakfast and lunch on Thursday and a light afternoon reception around our second showcase session. And then we offer a full breakfast and a box lunch is available on Friday. It is permissible for you to pay travel costs to the conference out of your ATE grant funds if those are budgeted. If you are in doubt about using your grant funding to pay for ATE conference travel, you can certainly contact your NSF ATE program officer for clarification. Just to get a quick little poll here, we have a question. If you have a new project grant, how many people in total can you bring to the conference? So we'll just see if folks are awake. All right, it looks like the majority are correct. It is 5. I'm going to close the poll, and I suspect some of you were thinking about the next question, which is of those 5, how many are complimentary? for a project. So if we want to launch this poll, everybody's got this one, right? Yes. So of the 5, 2 are complimentary. So 2 complimentary registrations and 2 hotel rooms for 2 nights for 2 individuals. Okay, if we could close this poll. And right now we're going to take a question break on some of the logistics, and then we'll turn it back to Elaine to navigate the conference. I don't know, Mike, if we have any questions at this point that we'd like to address.
We do, Ellen. One is it required to go to the pre-conference to go to one of those workshops, or is that optional?
Well, Elaine is actually going to talk about that right after this question break. They're optional, but not as optional as you would think. If you're new, we highly recommend and stress that you go to the Getting Started for new ATE grantees. And so Elaine will cover that in depth momentarily. Okay,
good. Here's another one. It has to do with that number again. For a project, as we just covered, the maximum is 5 people that you can bring. Does that include students, or is that like an extra category, separate category?
That's a very good question. That does not include students. So if you were interested in nominating students to attend through the student application process, each project or center is eligible to nominate up to 2 students to attend. If they are selected to attend, those 2 do not count to your 5-person maximum. They would be on top of the 5 people you can bring to the conference.
Okay, good. One other question, one of our colleagues registered, he booked his room at the Omni, but he never put in his grant number, although he did use the AACC link. So is he okay?
He is okay. The Omni, the hotel reservations, do not require a grant number just when you register for the conference. And what we do is compare the hotel rooming list to the conference registration list when we make those room designations to the master account. So it's absolutely fine not to have entered a grant number for the hotel reservation process. It doesn't call for one.
Okay. All right, good. There's a couple of questions that have to do with logistics. I think I'm going to hold those because I know you'll cover some of those, you and Elaine, as we go forward. Why don't we go forward now? Let me advance the slides if I can, Ellen, and let's invite Elaine back on to talk about navigating the conference.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Let's start with those pre-conference workshops. The pre-conference workshops provided by the ATEPI conference are not as optional as they may seem, as Ellen pointed out. If you are a new ATE grantee, you should register for and attend the Getting Started pre-conference workshop. The focus of this workshop is on what you need to know to properly administer and implement an NSF grant. Dr. Celeste Carter, the lead ATE program officer, and others from the Grants and Agreements, Cost Analysis and Resolution, and Legal Divisions of NSF will be sharing extremely important information that all grantees, but especially new grantees, really need to know. This is also an excellent pre-conference session for an administrator who is attending the conference with you. Administrators can help you communicate important information to your college business office, where most of the burden of compliance with federal regulations falls. Of course, the fact that your grant creates extra work for the business office explains why your business office may not be quite as excited about your new award as you are. Other pre-conference workshops also provide an in-depth opportunity to learn and improve your knowledge and skills as a principal investigator. Ellen will tell you more about the other pre-conference workshop sessions in a few minutes. Dr. Tom Higgins, another ATE program officer, says that in the first year of the award, the PI and co-PI should both attend the conference. The ATE solicitation outlines a clear expectation that the cost of attending the conference beyond what AACC provides be included in your grant budget. Ellen will explain how these costs are divided, and she has just been over that. In addition, colleges are encouraged to send others to the conference. Attending the ATEPI conference with a larger team will enable you to divide up and participate in multiple pre-conference workshops, as well as more conference sessions. You may use your grant funds to pay the additional $50 registration fee that is required for the pre-conference sessions. And the deadline to register is September 26th, so don't hesitate. The central message here is come early and stay late. You will not want to miss a single minute of this conference. Expect to be very busy the entire time. So if you want to tour Washington, D.C., you need to plan to arrive a day early or stay a day late. This conference is one that keeps you busy morning, noon, and night. Now, Ellen will tell you more about the conference programming.
Thank you, Elaine. So Elaine talked about the pre-conference workshops. On the screen are the workshops that are being offered for this year's event. They are meant to be hands-on sessions, and there's still time to register for the workshops for this year. If you've already registered for the conference, you can actually use your conference registration code and go back in and add a pre-con if you'd like. And if you have any issues doing so, you can contact me or the registration email at ate@aacc.nche.edu, and they can assist you. And as space is available, if there's still space available in workshops, we take those reservations all the way up into on-site. But if there's something you really would like to get into, please register ahead of time, particularly for getting started for new grantees. As Elaine talked about, you're strongly encouraged to attend that one, and they do prepare materials for attendees. So it's helpful to get an accurate head count on that ahead of time. Other pre-cons offered are PI survival guide, so that's more for grantees that are in their second or third year of the program. We're doing something on universal design for learning, leading for equity, and then impact evaluation essentials are the other pre-cons offered. So I just want to provide a brief overview of the conference sessions content and format so you just get a sense of flow. So the conference kicks off with, following the pre-conference workshops, the conference kicks off with a plenary session with keynote speakers. We usually include welcome and introductions from NSF and AACC leadership. And the plenary sessions feature industry and higher education leaders that address the themes of the conference. So we'll show you just a few pictures. They can be panels, they can be keynoters. This year, our opening plenary, we have Dr. Victor McCrary with the National Science Board, and our closing plenary, we have Charles Fidel, global thought leader, futurist, and author of Artificial Intelligence in Education. And we're still working on that opening with an additional panel, so more information will be posted on that shortly. But this just gives you a sense of the opening. We have a opening plenary on Wednesday evening, and then we have one Friday morning before we go into Friday sessions. Concurrent sessions, the conference offers 4 concurrent sessions on Thursday mornings. So these sessions include formal presentations or panel discussions that address topics pertaining to the conference theme. We're currently finalizing these sessions, but we have sessions focused on the future of work, apprenticeship, and entrepreneurship, broadening impact with your ATE awards focused on dissemination, and advanced manufacturing competencies and certifications. So those are the morning concurrent sessions. Plus there'll be a whole host of other sessions. On each morning of the conference, so Thursday and Friday morning, we offer breakfast roundtables, and these are a forum for interactive discussion among a small group of 12 people seated around one round table. And they are led by ATE attendees, and they're designed as information sharing. They will all be listed in the conference program, numbered by table, and you don't need to sign up to attend these. They are, you can select what's of interest to you, and it's first come, first served, sit at the table and engage in conversation. The rest of the conference sessions, AACC issues a call for sessions, and you may have seen this, where we ask conference participants to submit proposals to conduct presentations. We're looking for those to share their case studies, their experiences, their promising strategies, and their lessons learned. This is a very collaborative community, and people are very happy to share and work together. So you'll see the following types of sessions on the conference agenda Thursday and Friday. You'll see forums, and they are additional venues for formal presentation where presenters will facilitate an exchange of ideas or conduct a demonstration and share their promising strategies to provide greater insight into some of the issues that are outlined in the conference tracks. We have discussion sessions, and so those are interactive for ATE grantees to share promising strategies and lessons learned, really to network and to explore ways to collaborate. Demonstration sessions, those are 30-minute formal presentations that show you how to apply a tool or a concept, and it'll walk attendees through a clear step-by-step explanation of the teaching or learning tool and how it can be applied or implemented. On Friday, we offer high-impact workshops and synergy meetings. So a high-impact workshop, those are 2-hour workshops designed to address targeted areas of need within the ATE community that's relevant and applicable across STEM disciplines. So those are some hands-on workshops at the end of the conference following our morning plenary. And then synergy meetings, which are more informal discussion-based sessions allowing groups to meet and to discuss issues relating to the regular conference sessions and common challenges. So those will all be on the agenda, but just so you get a sense of the session type and flow. And now the showcase sessions. So these really are the heart of the conference, the highlight of the event. And this is an opportunity where you get an opportunity to participate and go through the showcases during one showcase, and as the other, you'll be on the other side and sharing information about your programs with NSF and with other guests at the conference. The showcase sessions are consistently rated as a highlight of the event. I think it was 96% of last year's attendees reported it as one of the most valuable conference activities. This is where so much networking and information exchange occurs. So we have a couple pictures of the showcases here. So all projects and centers present displays that capture the purpose and products of their programs, or for those just starting out, what you're attempting to do. And Elaine will talk a little bit further about that momentarily. And these are just some pictures of booth displays and a little some pictures of the showcase hall. And just to note that this doesn't run like a standard exhibit hall. There are no vendors in this exhibit hall. It is all ATE grantees presenting on their programs, their products, their services, their plans, and they're really designed to promote networking and information sharing and build the ATE community. So now I'm going to turn to Elaine to give you some more information about attending the showcases, and then in the next section we'll talk to you on how to prepare to be on the other side of the booth. Elaine?
Thank you, Ellen. I checked the NSF website about a week ago, and there were 390 active ATE awards right now, which translates into a large number of showcase exhibits that you will want to explore. The conference program can help you prioritize your exploration during the showcase. On the screen, you can see an example page from the showcase abstracts that are included in the conference program. These abstracts will enable you to identify projects or centers whose work is of greatest interest to you, and you can also shop for ideas beyond your discipline. Some of the most energizing partnerships and innovative work come from cross-discipline collaborations. Attend with an open mind, behave like a sponge, and just soak it all in. Some grantees will participate in the showcase on Wednesday night, and the remainder will showcase on Thursday. In addition, at both showcases, you will find several special exhibits that feature program-wide services. Examples of the program-wide service exhibits include Evaluate. Their exhibit focuses on project evaluation support for the ATE community, and the Mentor Connect exhibit that features mentoring and technical support for preparing competitive ATE grant proposals. During the exhibits, you will no doubt be inspired by the work of other grantees. Importantly, you're likely to find the resources and possibly even new partners to make your project dreams come true. You may pick up ideas for your next grant proposal as well. As a special treat, showcases will also feature ATE students and alumni posters. Now to the yummy part. The food functions associated with the exhibits are located adjacent to the exhibits, and the food is always a treat. This arrangement provides great opportunities for not only exploring the exhibits, but also for gathering around a table with new friends and colleagues to pursue common interests. At this point, let's take a short break and answer any questions that you may have. Mike?
Thank you, Elaine. There are a couple of questions. Some were answered in the chat window, but let me just verify one. Let me turn to you for a minute, Ellen. It isn't just the PIs that can present, right? Any member of their team, and whatever way they configure their thing, can present. It's not just for PIs, right?
Absolutely, yes. Any grant team member can present. Many have team members present, have project partners present. So even though it is called the PI conference, it is not just for the PI, it's for the entire grant team that works on these initiatives.
Okay, good, thank you. Now let me turn back to Elaine. Elaine, a question came in, and I'm not sure I got it exactly right, but I think the question is, we are a new to ATE. Are we expected to bring students? Can we bring students? Should they be part of it?
Well, the first answer is no one has to bring students, but it is such a life-altering experience for students. We've been ATE grantees for many years and have taken many students to the ATE-PI conference, and for every single one of them, it has been just a professional development highlight and often a life-changing experience for them to go. And
Yes.
because AACC supports their attendance, it makes it possible. However, there will be some cost associated with taking the students. So what I would tell the new to ATE grantees is, by all means, if you can figure out how to finance the students' travel to the conference, I would definitely take students if you can. If not, keep this in mind for next year and spend the year figuring out how you can get some of your students there next year.
Good answer, Elaine. I remember one grant that I was associated with, they approached one of their industry partners and said, hey, could you help support the student travel to this conference? And the industry was very happy to do so. So there's an option that I would just throw out there. That seemed to work. Ellen, back to you. When will you notify projects? You can see the question in the chat of what showcase session they're going to be in.
Actually, when they reserve their showcase session online, they select what showcase they're going to be in. So if you go through the conference website to the showcase reservation page, you choose if you want to showcase on Wednesday or Thursday. You can actually select what booth, what space you want to be in, and you go through the online prompts to reserve that space.
Excellent. That's great. Ellen, one last question for you before we go ahead. This might be a more difficult one. It says, will AACC help me visit my elected representative, senator or congressman, while I'm in Washington?
We certainly encourage you to visit your legislators if you want to come in early or go following the conference. We have Jim Hermes, who's on our staff here, can provide tips on encouraging legislators. In terms of setting up visits, if that's something anyone is interested, they can let us know. But again, that would require coming in prior to the start of the conference or going following the event. But we're certainly able to assist in that. If anyone is interested, they could just email me and I could put them in touch with our government relations contact here.
Well, thank you. That's a very courteous offer. And if I read into your comments, no one should dare think about going down to visit the mall during the conference. They can do so beforehand or afterhand, but not during the conference.
Yes, the conference is pretty jam-packed in a short timeline with a lot of information, and NSF really expects you would be there.
Yes.
So if you'd like to, we certainly encourage you to get out and see DC, just not over the, just not in the middle of Thursday during all the heart of the content.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and advance. Oops, I'm sorry, I went too far. Ellen, it's back to you talking about maximizing that engagement that you just alluded to.
Oh, great. So thanks, Mike. We'll talk a little bit more about the call for sessions. These are opportunities to get engaged in the conference. And some of these you may be thinking about for next year or future years, such as submitting a proposal for the call for sessions. But then everyone will be working to display at the showcase sessions, or you could even join the conference steering committee. So we'll go over all of this in this section of the webinar. So call for sessions, so I mentioned this previously, we issue a call for sessions where we invite proposals from ATE project and centers to conduct conference sessions. This conference is planned by PIs for PIs, and we want you to be able to share what's coming out of your projects with others. I mentioned this as it's a good way to get involved in the conference. The deadline for this year has passed, but the call for sessions is something to consider for future years of the conference. And the showcase session. So this is separate from the call for sessions. The call for sessions is optional. That's if you want to submit to host a workshop or a breakfast roundtable or a forum. But the showcases, participation is required. NSF wants to hear from you and have you have this opportunity. There, again, it's considered the highlight of the conference. And though new grantees are in their first year of funding and you don't have much to share, you're still asked to participate. And Elaine's going to go over that in detail shortly. So we just wanted to provide you some information on how to prepare for the showcase sessions, whether you are new or you're returning, whether you're going to do a new to ATE booth or you're doing a full booth, just so you're aware of dates and times and logistics. So on the slide are the dates and times for the showcases. If you sign up for Wednesday, setup is between 12 and 5:30. The reason we start early, if you're going to showcase Wednesday and you're participating in that ATE Getting Started workshop, which is from 1 to 5, that gives you a short window following the workshop to set up, or you could set up prior to that pre-con. So just to make you aware of that from a logistical standpoint. And then the showcase actually occurs following the opening plenary. Our second showcase, we have you set up for early in the morning so you don't miss the rest of the day, and then the showcase itself is from 3:45 to 6. So this is just a picture of a showcase booth, just to give you a sense. Some are rather elaborate. You'll see equipment, and then you'll see some with posters, and both are equally fine. It's really just what's going to engage people and get you talking. Do know that there are exact dimensions for booths, and if you are planning to do a display, whether it's this year or next year, you'll also want to note ceiling heights. As you can see, the OmniStorms exhibit hall has rather low ceilings. And if you're not new to ATE, each project and center receives a carpeted 8x10 booth, a 6x30 drape table, and 2 chairs. If you're new to ATE, you'll be sharing space, and Elaine will talk about that momentarily. All booths will have access to electric if you want to plug in a laptop. And then for those that are full booths, so the projects and centers that are not new to ATE, we can also provide a flat screen monitor, and you would, when you go in to reserve a showcase, you would indicate that. As we just talked about, all booth space for the showcase sessions must be reserved prior to the conference. We don't assign you to a booth. You need to physically go in and select a booth and a date to showcase. And we have detailed information on how to do that on our website. Do note that deadline is rapidly approaching, so September 19th is the deadline to reserve your space to showcase. Now I'm going to have Elaine talk to you about the new to ATE and hopefully alleviate any concerns about showcasing, because it actually is a really great opportunity. Elaine?
Thanks, Ellen. To reiterate and stress information about exhibiting as a new ATE first-time grantee, NSF asked that all first-time ATE grantees who received an award in 2019 in the new to ATE funding track participate in a showcase session. You may be nervous about this requirement since many of you are just beginning your projects. We understand. To make this easier for you, first-time new to ATE grantees will share an exhibit space with another new to ATE grantee. Each grantee is asked to prepare a poster and/or a one-page handout for display and sharing purposes. You and your booth mate will also have a table where you may display any items that you wish to include to help explain your project. And as has been pointed out, there is a one-page, I guess it's one-page, descriptor of those new to ATE exhibit guidelines that you can download from this webinar screen that Mike talked about earlier. In the exhibit hall, the atmosphere is very social. Just keep in mind that we live in a soundbite world. When you develop your poster or handout, use photos and bullets or brief statements about the premise of your project. Don't just reprint your project summary or project description. Grant proposal language is just that. And it doesn't work well for an exhibit where you only want talking points. People will want to talk with you about your work and won't spend time reading a lot of print. As you draft your sound bites to share, think about the great idea that got you funded. What is your main focus? Is it increasing female recruitment and retention in engineering technology? Infusing nanotechnology concepts into physical science courses? Or perhaps you are launching an internship program in geospatial technology. Whatever your project's about, keep your exhibits simple and to the point, and then rely on your conversations with participants to provide details about your work. Plan to have someone at your exhibit at all times. Having multiple people from your team attend the conference allows you to take turns hosting the exhibit. This will make it possible for you to explore more exhibits in both showcases. As you visit exhibits, notice the size of the exhibits and the styles and the features of the various displays. What appeals to you? Take some photos for guidance. When you have your own exhibit space next year, you can model your exhibit on the designs that you think will work best for showcasing your project. One last point, your exhibit should be specific to the ATE-PI conference. Avoid using an exhibit or exhibit materials that were developed solely for the purpose of advertising your college. It is good to recognize your college, but your exhibit for the ATE-PI conference should be specifically about your ATE project. You are encouraged to use the NSF logo and your grant number on all display materials so that you can always include appropriate attribution. Contact Mentor Connect if you need help locating NSF logos and disclaimers that should be used. Participating in the ATE-PI Conference Showcase is an exciting way to share with others, but it can also be a lot of work. Prior to planning can help eliminate some of the frustrations associated with this activity. Make sure that you have ordered and checked out all materials you plan to use well in advance of the conference. Remember that everything takes longer than you think it should. If you have a display or items that require assembly on site, it is a good idea to practice assembling your exhibit at your institution to minimize surprises when you get to Washington, D.C. If there are items or graphics to be placed directly on the display or arranged in front of the display after it is assembled, I suggest that you take photographs of your design during your practice run at home so that you can quickly duplicate it when you get to Washington. As Ellen pointed out, for those going to the Getting Started workshop and setting up for a Wednesday night exhibit, those setup times are really pretty short. So the more prep you do ahead of time, the easier all that's going to be for you. When planning, be aware that there are no ladders, step stools, scissors, packing material, or tape available for your use in the exhibit hall. Think through everything in advance. For example, don't tape your boxes so tightly that you can't get them open without the scissors that you packed inside the box. This can easily happen because you can't take sharp objects like scissors or box cutters on an airplane. Most exhibitors provide small giveaways to attract visitors and advertise their project or center. The idea is to encourage people to follow up with you after the conference. For that reason, your primary giveaway should be a personalized item for your project with your contact information and perhaps website URL. As you visit exhibits this year, notice what items people have chosen for this purpose. Think about what will work for your project. Some people choose items related to their discipline. Others attract people with candy, luggage tags, or other low-cost items. Think small and lightweight. Keep in mind that most people fly to the conference and have limited baggage space to take things home. Also, it is very important to adhere to all applicable NSF guidelines and your own institution's procurement rules in providing this type of promotional item. The objective is to facilitate the spread of information about your project and make it easy for someone to connect with you after the conference. As a new to ATE first-time conference attendee, it may be that you don't bring anything for your exhibit that requires special shipping or handling. However, in future years, your exhibit will grow and likely need to be shipped. The nuts and bolts of getting your exhibit or display item to the conference and back to your institution after the event can be grueling and expensive. So be diligent in figuring out all your costs in advance. Purchasing and shipping exhibit items provides an excellent opportunity to make friends with your college purchasing and shipping and receiving departments. You will need their help more often than you realize. There is an exhibitor kit included in the conference registration packet that provides detailed information that you and your college will need to handle this task. Read the fine print. This bears repeating. Read the fine print. For example, do not attempt to ship exhibit materials to yourself at the hotel. Ship your materials as instructed and well in advance of the conference. And don't forget to make arrangements for return shipping to your college at the conclusion of your showcase session. A round-trip ticket is needed, and these things do not magically happen. It is your responsibility to make the appropriate arrangements and to get the financial approvals necessary from your college and payments made. All of these costs can be charged to your grant. Now, we'll go back to Ellen and learn more about this how conference gets organized each year.
Thanks, Elaine. So just a quick note, you may wonder who plans the annual conference. As I mentioned earlier, this is a conference for PIs by PIs. So it's planned each year by a steering committee that consists of AACC staff, NSF program officers, and representatives from ATE projects and centers. Those that are, may have just attended their first conference and those that have attended for years, so we get a variety of perspectives when planning the event. The committee meets through monthly conference calls, typically held from February through September. And steering committee members provide input into the conference agenda, make suggestions for keynote speakers, and help to develop and moderate the sessions. If you're interested in serving on a conference steering committee for future ATE conferences, we just ask you to contact AACC staff. And we also welcome ideas from anyone for speakers or sessions. And we consult the evaluation surveys that go out at the end of the conference for that information. We ask for suggestions for future events. We ask for content you'd like to see. So we really encourage you to complete that online evaluation survey following the conference and provide us with those suggestions for improvement, because it's the first thing we do as a steering committee is go through all that commentary and feedback to decide how we'll meet those needs for future events. So now I believe we are at a question break. Mike?
Thank you, Ellen. A couple of questions. Let me just hit return there. One question is, will this webinar be recorded? Because there's a lot of details. And I'll just want to remind people, yes, the recording will be automatically sent. We should get that out to folks on Monday or Tuesday. You can share it with your team members or review it yourself. Let me... Ellen, I'm going to jump back to Elaine about that showcase session. And Elaine, both you and I know this shipping of materials is such a pain, and I was glad to hear you really emphasize that you've got to pay attention. You can carry your own materials in, right? So if let's suppose you have a rolled up poster, you can actually carry that into the exhibit hall. You don't have to ship that if you don't want to, right?
That's correct. And that's a good thing to do if you can. But as your exhibits get larger, they very frequently are in large shipping containers, and you're just probably not going to be able to take them on an airplane with you.
Right.
So you just, and how you get there, a few people can drive to the conference, but the majority fly to the conference. So you just have to think about the logistics and doing all that in advance. I have known some very experienced ATEPIs who have not shipped their exhibits quite early enough, and it's really embarrassing to show up at the exhibit and your exhibit materials are not there.
Right. I also know just from experience that the hotel does have a UPS, is it UPS thing on site, so that in principle you could ship out from the hotel if your college gave you a UPS number or a prepaid shipping level. I know these are horrible details, but you really do have to pay attention here, don't you?
You do, and checking those things out and making sure that that you've got that round trip ticket, as I mentioned, is very important, because there are set extra charges that are made as things move through the exhibit hall, and the contractors that AACC and the hotel must use. These are all prearranged contractual arrangements, and you really can't circumvent them. You need to work with the system and not try to work around it.
Thank you. Let's go back to Ellen. Ellen, one of our grants that are showcasing really wants to show their website. That's going to be part of what they do. What about internet connections? Can they use their Verizon hotspot or their phone to make an internet connection for their website? How does that work?
Well, we actually don't provide internet in the hall. You can make arrangements for internet through the exhibitor kit, which is on the website, or a lot of people do screenshots of it. It's just not something due to cost and the placement of the exhibit hall, which is really, believe it or not, a converted parking garage. You won't believe it when you see it, but it is. Internet connections are difficult down there, but you can arrange for them through the hotel, and there's information to do that through the exhibitor kit.
I think you're right. Don't rely on internet. Do it some other way. I think that's a good idea. Okay, excellent. We've talked about shipping. Thank you very much, both you and Elaine, for answering a lot of questions in the chat window. Folks, a whole bunch of questions and responses in that window. You can use the little slider bar and go up and down and see what other information there are. Here's the last question for this session. Did you really say that I can showcase by bringing a one-pager? Elaine, let me ask you that.
Yes, if you're new to ATE, you may do that. And that will work just fine. As I said, people really want to talk to you.
Sure.
Now, even if you just bring a one-pager, you might want to do something that you stick up on a poster board that just gives the title of your project or the topic of your project.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, because just a piece of paper on a table might not encourage somebody to stop and talk with you.
Okay, well, that makes my life a little bit simpler. You can see a number of us, especially our new grantees, are a bit nervous about this. Some of us have just gotten funded, in fact, with an October 1 start date. But I think all of us could put together a sharp, nice visual one-pager to use as a talking point. I think that makes sense. All right, good. Let's go ahead. That's good. We've got some logistics coming up and a bunch of logistic questions. Let me advance the slide, and let's turn back to Ellen and talk first about program officers.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So one of the questions that we consistently receive from grantees is, how to identify and connect with your program officer at the conference. So and sometimes they don't even know who their program director is. Sometimes that information changes. So if you need assistance in identifying your program officer, the Teaching Technicians website has a section entitled Help for PIs, and it offers step-by-step instructions on how to navigate NSF's website to find the listing for your program officer. NSF will bring a listing for program officers. There's an NSF table by registration. Well, they have that list printed nice and big. So if you're in doubt, you can see who is actually assigned to your award. And then we also provide photos of the NSF program officers in the conference program. Program officers are asked to stand at plenary sessions, and they also wear ribbons that say NSF under their name badges, so you can look for those red ribbons as well. In terms of connecting with your program officer, you need to note that the conference is large. It's attended by more than 800 people, and your program officer typically manages several grant awards. So locating them at the conference can be, could be like finding a needle in a haystack. If you'd like to meet with your program officer at the conference, they ask that you contact them in advance to try to make arrangements to do so. But I will note that the program directors, the places they're going through is they physically go through the showcase sessions. So that's one place you can meet with them and chat with them as well. It's Celeste Carter here at the top and Corby Hause at the bottom. That's them going through the showcase sessions. So they're very active in the conference and going through and trying to connect with everyone. But if you're really trying to connect with them, I would suggest contacting them ahead of time to see if it's possible to meet. And I will also note that if you've got general questions of a program officer, you can ask them of any program officer. It doesn't have to be your specific program officer. Anyone with an NSF ribbon be happy to talk with you and engage with you about your questions. And then NSF program directors also host a breakfast roundtable each morning of the event, where there'll be 2 to 3 program officers seated around a breakfast table. So if you'd like to sit down and talk with an NSF program director, that's a good opportunity to do so as well. Now I'd like to go over ATE student participation. We've talked just a little bit about this, but the ATE conference does offer a wonderful opportunity for students to attend the event. And as Elaine indicated, if you're able to work out travel support, we hope that you'll consider nominating students to participate. You're certainly welcome to do so in your first year of funding. So each year at the conference, AACC awards approximately 60 scholarships to AT students to attend the event. So those selected receive complimentary registration, and we give them 2 nights lodging. So it's the project or the center that's responsible for their airfare and their other travel expenses, which again is an allowable use of grant funds. So each project or center may nominate up to 2 students or recent alum to attend the conference by having them complete and submit the student alumni application, which is online on our website. Do note that if the nominated student is 18 years or younger, you'll need the permission, is younger than 18, you'll need the permission of a parent or guardian, and you'll need to have a dedicated faculty member accompany the applicant to the conference. We have had some cases of dual enrollment students coming. We just need parental permission for them to attend, and then the dedicated faculty member. But the majority of our students are 18 or over. You still have time to nominate a student if you'd like to do so. The deadline is next week, September 11th, and we turn those around really quickly and notify the students selected to attend and their sponsoring PIs by that Friday, September 13th. To give you a little bit of overview of student activities, we do a breakfast recognition ceremony. There are student-led sessions. There's a student poster session, a standalone student poster session on Thursday around the lunch hour. And then we also offer a student tour of the National Air and Space Museum. That's something the students can sign up for. So they have the opportunity to present. They do a poster session. And they can also, we've also had breakfast roundtables led by students, and we've included students in some of our other conference sessions. I mentioned the student poster session. Students, as part of their attendance through the scholarship process, are expected to prepare a poster related to their program of study and their current work for the student poster session. Whether you are nominating students or not, I highly encourage you to take the time on Thursday afternoon to go through the student posters and talk with the students. For many students, the conference marks the first time they've been on a plane or traveled out of state, and they have wonderful things to share. And this really is a life-changing event for them. So we hope you'll take the time to walk through those posters and talk with the students. And then for me, a personal highlight of the event is the student recognition breakfast. This is for the students and their nominating PIs, and students receive certificates and are recognized by NSF for their achievement in STEM. This is a breakfast held in their honor on Friday morning. So again, we encourage the nominating PIs to attend the breakfast with their students. And then we offer a student industry networking session where students are given the opportunity to meet with business and industry professionals that attend the event, and they sit in small groups and learn about interview and communication skills. So that's a highly rated event by students, and one we'll be offering again this year. So we'll share a complete schedule of student events, a student guide to the ATE conference, and we also do a separate student orientation webinar on September 19th, and we give that all out to the students that are selected to attend the conference, so they're aware of all the activities and the opportunities in participating. Do we have any questions or comments at this point?
Ellen, we've covered everything in the chat window so far. I'm saving our logistics questions, so why don't we go ahead and cover some of that?
Okay, great. So we've only got a little bit left. So other conference questions, conference attire, internet access, and ATE resources. So in terms of conference attire, we do suggest business casual, but we want you to be comfortable. And we ask you to dress in layers. As you know, conference rooms can be unpredictable. You can have the AC blaring, and weather in October can be actually really nice and quite warm, or we could be a little chilly. So we ask you to dress accordingly. And comfortable shoes. This is an old historic hotel, and there is a good amount of walking. We have sessions. We basically take over the whole hotel. So there's a lot of walking from one side to the other, depending on what sessions you're interested in. And getting to the exhibit hall is a little bit of a roundabout way. So we do ask you to wear comfortable shoes, and we suggest business casual. In terms of internet access, we provide a wireless access code for use by our participants in the meeting rooms and the common areas of the hotel. That won't work in the exhibit hall, as we talked before, just due to connectivity, but you can access that in meeting rooms, so you'll get that wireless access code. It'll actually be on the back of your badge, your name badge, when you check in. And then we also give you a code that you can use in your sleeping room, so you'll have complimentary wireless access in your sleeping room. And now let me turn it back to Elaine to go over some resources and some deadlines, and then I think we have our final question break. Elaine?
Okay, Ellen. The ATE community provides so many resources, so I just want to highlight a few that you might want to check out. Being an ATPI means you have a wealth of resources at your fingertip, most of which are free. I will mention a few that you will find most helpful. These resources with URLs are included in the webinar handout that you may access from the screen today if you haven't already downloaded this document. ATE Central, which is the first URL that's listed, allows you to locate and use all resources across the ATE program. You can think of it as your ERIC or Google Scholar search tool for all things ATE. TeachingTechnicians.org provides a variety of resources to support technician educators. Ellen pointed out one of them, which is how to find your program officer. Teaching Technicians provides how-to guidance to help you in your role as a principal investigator. The site also features a unique searchable compendium of research on technician education that can help you with research for your next grant proposal. Mentor Connect provides mentoring technical assistance for potential ATE grantees. Some of you in the audience today have benefited from Mentor Connect mentoring as you prepared your first NSF ATE grant. Mentor Connect also helps you stay connected with ATE as a grantee. Do you need help preparing your next competitive ATE grant proposal? To successfully move up from a new to ATE grant to a larger ATE grant requires some adjustments in strategy. So Mentor Connect now provides moving up mentoring and technical support to help you move up from a small grant for institutions new to ATE to larger ATE project grants. Or maybe you have experienced one of those dreaded decline letters from NSF ATE when a first or second proposal you submitted was not funded. Mentor Connect also provides second chance mentoring to help you rework a declined proposal. Mentor Connect's goal is to get you into the ATE program and keep you there. Evaluate provides resources and services to strengthen evaluation in the ATE program. Evaluate should definitely be your go-to source for information about project evaluation. ATE TV provides amazing high-quality free video vignettes to help you recruit students and raise awareness of careers in advanced technology. ATE TV also features some videos in Spanish. The High Impact Technology Exchange Conference, or HITECH, referred to in the next URL, is an event that provides a wealth of ideas and opportunities to connect with the ATE community, technician educators, and industry. The conference is produced by a large collaboration of ATE centers and projects. The next HITECH conference will be held in Portland, Oregon, July 27th through 30th, 2020. Very often grantees find that participating in HITECH and engaging there, presenting programs there, is a great preparation for next year's ATEPI conference. As a reminder, all of these resource URLs are provided on a handout from this webinar. Now let's review those deadlines one more time. It is of great help to those planning the conference if you are very diligent in adhering to the deadlines. Doing so helps them do the best job possible facilitating this conference. If you are among the few who receive late award notices, there are usually a few awards pending at this point in the year. AACC will be more than happy to assist you after the registration deadline. If you want to bring students to the conference, the deadline for application is next Wednesday, September the 11th. This is a great opportunity to both showcase and reward the best students in your ATE program. To reserve exhibit space this year, the deadline for reserving a booth space is Thursday, September 19th. Remember that you are expected to exhibit even as a brand new grantee. Your showcase space assignment is not automatic. You must apply to be assigned a space for your exhibit. And very, very important, the cutoff for hotel reservations is Thursday, September 26th. The Omni Showroom is a large hotel, but it fills up each year for this conference. Don't procrastinate. No other hotel in the area will provide the proximity and convenience of being at the Omni. Conference days start early and run through the evening, so it is especially important to be right there. The conference registration deadline is also September 26th. And as Ellen pointed out earlier, even if you've already registered, You still have time to add people to your team, and you also have time to still have time to register for pre-conference workshops. We encourage you to consider bringing with you administrators, industry, or academic partners, your evaluator, or other members of your grant team who will be instrumental in the success of your project. Trust me, bringing others with you is worth the expense. Involving others in the ATEPI conference never fails to foster a better understanding of what it means to have an ATE grant. And the more enthusiasm you can generate for your project at your home campus, the easier it will be to achieve your goals. Now, here is the contact information to keep handy in the event that you have additional questions or need help.
We
So,
are,
Mike,
Elaine, and
I
thank
think
you,
we are
both
about ready
you
to go back to you
and Ellen, for all of the
to wrap
details. There are
things
a
up.
ton of details, but I am so excited about this conference. All three of us have been there multiple years, and I'm just really looking forward. Let me ask you a question. One of our participants, she admits that she's nervous about meeting her program officer. What she's thinking is, will the program officer grill her what she's been doing, or what can she expect? Will it be a one-on-one meeting? Will it be a group meeting? What's your experience with program officers there?
Well, I can tell you that even before you get your funding award, but especially afterwards, the program officers are now on your team. There is nobody who is more interested in your success than they are. They're very user-friendly. If they ask you questions about your project, it's because they're truly interested. They're not checking up on you, so to speak. They really are just a terrific group of people. And as Ellen pointed out, even if you can't find your program officer, others are going to stop by to talk with you. And you'll find that they are just really interested in what you're doing, and your success is very important to them. And they'll probably ask you, what can we do to help you? I mean, they're just like that. They're really so don't be afraid of them. Really, they're great, and they'll be there for you when you need them as you go through your project. And as I've pointed out, they want you to come back for additional funding. They want you to stay engaged with the ATE program for the long haul. And
That's a really excellent comment, Elaine. Thanks very much. So they're on your side, they're on your team. I appreciate that. We appreciate that very much. Let me turn back to Ellen. Ellen, you live in DC. Let me ask you this question. Hotel restaurants are sort of expensive. Is there any place outside of the hotel I can go and get something? I'm on a bit of a budget here.
Oh, sure, absolutely. The Omni is located in an area called Woodley Park. So literally you can walk out the door and there's a nice diner, with kind of upscale food for a diner, but very affordable. Literally across the street, there's a McDonald's, there's a CVS, and there's also a host of restaurants in this row right on we are on Connecticut Avenue. So absolutely, there are places nearby. We include a restaurant list. You can pick that up at the conference registration desk. There's a lot within walking distance, or you can even jump on the metro and go one stop up or down for restaurants that are close by.
Could we ask you, thank you, could we ask you about the metro? A couple of questions. Is it safe? Do people use it? Does it cost a lot? Many of us have not had the opportunity to use it yet.
Yeah, the metro is actually very easy to use. It's a safe system. It's not expensive. You would need to go. It depends on what time of day you're traveling and your point of origin and your destination. But you can go to WMATA, and I can put that into the chat box to look that up. But it is an easy system. A lot of people, there is a stop right at, if you fly into Washington Reagan, you can actually take the metro directly to the hotel. You would have to change lines once, but that is an option, an economical option to get from the hotel, from the airport to the hotel and back.
Should you fly into Washington Reagan, or should you fly into Dulles?
Well, Reagan is certainly more convenient, much closer on a metro line, but certainly Dulles is further out, but it's really going to depend on where you're coming from and the fares and then the times of day you're coming in. DCA, while it is convenient, can often have higher fares just because it's a smaller airport.
Sure.
But there's also Baltimore Washington International, which is an option as well. Again, those airports are further out, but we have information on our website that includes approximate, taxi fare or super shuttle, and then Uber and Lyft are prevalent here as well.
One time I took an Uber from Washington National to the hotel. It was $18.52, so it wasn't bad.
No, it's not too bad from DCA at all. Dulles and BWI, due to further proximity, are going to be more expensive to get to in terms of ground transportation.
Excellent. So we're just now, folks, at the end of our time. A ton of information today. I hope all of you online will take an opportunity to perhaps to say hello to Ellen or Elaine or myself when we're in DC. We'd love to chat with you. Here's the final question. I'll start with you, Ellen. If you're a tourist in DC, what's your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do is to get down to the National Mall and see some of the monuments, and I actually like to do them at night. Particularly Vietnam, the Lincoln. They're really stunning at night. Very different energy, but certainly one of my favorite things to do is just go down to the mall. And even now, when I go, I always say, why don't I come down here more?
And you live there.
Yes, and I live here.
How about you, Elaine? What's your favorite thing to do as a tourist in DC?
Oh, it's hard to pass on the Smithsonian. I could spend the rest of my life there. It's and the museums. DC is just an amazing place, and I've been going for years. I haven't even come close to seeing it all.
All right, I'll take the moderator privilege.
So it's really hard to know where to start. I'll agree.
My recommendation is the last thing. You get on the metro and you go down towards the White House, and you walk about a block to Old Ebbitt's Grill, and you have a Manhattan or a martini or something like that. And then afterwards, about 10 o'clock at night, you take Ellen's suggestion, you walk over and you look at the White House at night. You got to stand outside the gate, of course, but it is really cool. I have to tell you, Ellen. And then you get back on the metro and go home. So that's my suggestion, including the martini or Manhattan, whatever you like. So, all right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those great hop-on, hop-off buses, and they stop right across from the Omni there. That's a
well,
great,
friends, it's been a lot of fun today. But now, before you run away,
time,
remember, I have one request
visitor.
for you, and I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide. We have a brief 4-question survey. I'm going to launch this survey in just a moment here, and it'll come up. It'll open in a new browser window on your screen, but we'll still be here. Some older Macintosh operating systems won't show this survey, so I'm going to put it in the chat window for those people who don't have it. Okay, so I've launched the survey now, and please go ahead and respond to those questions. So again, Ellen and Elaine, thank you very much. Just a great webinar today, and I look forward to seeing both of you in DC and all of our attendees who have joined today. So thank you both. All right, colleagues, that's the end of the audio portion of our webinar. I'm going to turn off the recording. You'll get a link to that recording. And thank you again for joining today. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Ellen. Goodbye, Elaine.